All right, we'll get started. Good afternoon, everyone, and thanks for coming along this afternoon to hear more information about the Microsoft School Transformation Programme. My name's Lauren Arkley, and I work in the Digital Learning team at the Department of Education. And I'm really excited to welcome Troy, who's going to take us through this afternoon's presentation. And we've done the school transformation programme before, so we did one earlier this year and we had a couple of schools come along and it was really, really successful. So I'm looking forward to you all finding out more information. If you've got any questions, please feel free to pop them into the chat. I'll post some of the links that Troy shares as well throughout the session. But I'll hand over to Troy. Just actually before I do, Troy is recording this session, so if you don't want to be part of the recording, just make sure your webcam's switched off. Over to you, Troy.
Thanks very much for that, Lauren. It's funny because Lauren and I work for two different companies, and yet I probably see her more than anyone else in the work that I do with the department. Hi, everyone. Yeah, my name is Troy. I am a what's called a Microsoft Learning Delivery Specialist, which is just a fancy way of saying I'm a former teacher, former educator, was working for department schools for a period of time, Victorian department schools, but now, now working for Microsoft. So I don't come at this as a marketing person. I don't come at this as a salesperson. I come at this very much as an educator. What I think we'll do is, if you can keep an eye on the chat, feel free to click on the chat. Lauren will sort of grab your questions. Keep your questions coming through the chat so you don't forget. But what we'll do is we'll hold them all till the end, unless there's something really burning. Lauren, feel free to jump in. Yeah, we'll keep the questions till the end, and hopefully we'll answer some of those as we go through. But feel free to throw them in the chat, or hold your question at the end, and we'll open up for you to come off mute and talk about what you want to talk about. So the Microsoft Schools Transformation Program is a genuinely free professional learning program to build and implement your school's unique digital transformation strategy. So this is delivered in partnership with Digital Learning Victoria, Department of Education. So this is tailored specifically for schools in the department. Now, we have other cohorts. We have independent cohorts, Catholic cohorts, different state departments as well having their own cohorts, but you would come together in a group made up of other DET schools. So where it came from was when I started working for Microsoft, we were very much focused on delivering workshops. And I had done my own sort of postgraduate study and stuff around, adult learning, and as well as professional development and educators. And I knew that for lasting impact to occur, we needed to really look at a different model, right? So what I did was I started to look at what constitutes effective professional development. And there is largely a consensus on what good PD looks like. And the first thing, and what I'm sharing here is not the exhaustive list, but these are the things that are quite important. And it's intensive, but it includes follow-up and on-site support for teachers. It has active learning opportunities, so it's not just sitting back, passively receiving all the information, including practice, feedback, and reflection. It utilises the expertise of teachers in schools, in districts, that's just the American way of saying departments, cultivates leaders and involves the teachers in planning. And then it also provides structures that facilitate collaboration among teachers, both within and across schools. And so what I did was I built this program. It used to be called Tune Up. You may have heard it called that once before. But I built this program with the idea of bringing the whole school in and starting to build some of these, effective professional development points. Now, the other thing too is the ICT General Capability has been removed from the digital curriculum, at least in a sense. It's still there, but it's supposed to be sort of rolling across the entire curriculum rather than a standalone ICT capability. But I like to use this because the purpose of our course, the purpose of the school transformation program, is to see your school develop and grow in these areas. It obviously filters down, of course, ultimately to the students, and that's, you know, that's what matters. That's the business of schools. But this is a teacher program, so we don't teach the kids, we don't run workshops for the kids, right? But the idea is that we train you, and then in turn you reach the kids. So the ICT General Capability talks about the ability to manage and operate ICT. So we are teaching you to be able to do that, and then move that on to the students you work with. Applying social and ethical protocols and practices when using IT, investigating with ICT, communicating with ICT, and creating with ICT. And so that's what we want to do. We want to teach teachers to be better able to develop this and deliver this back to the school. So what does it look like? Well, we have four, actually there's five main components of the STP, right? The School Transformation Program. We love an acronym at Microsoft, so I'll call it the STP. Now, what it is it's a whole school program. And so we want to hit the different portions of your school, the different sections in your school. We want to get everybody on the same page whilst at the same time delivering uniquely to those different sections. We want to see your school talking to each other in this space and working together and having a common vision, whilst also doing those unique tasks that are relevant to that, you know, that subsection of the school. So the first thing we do is what's called the Education Leadership Seminar. And the overview there, it's to create or continue to create, if your school's already on that path, a shared vision for the digital transformation of your school. So the people that would come along to this 3-hour session are people like your principal, deputy principals, e-learning leaders, digital leaders, curriculum leaders, and if you've got an ICT director or an IT staff in your school, they come along to be a part of that as well. And we unpack the vision. Okay, now there's two options. You don't have to come. You don't have to come to both. It's just a 3-hour session, but we do ask that you all come to the same one because you will work as a group on some activities and stuff, right? Some vision building activities. So you can see there, that's the 2nd of March or the 4th of March from 11 a.m. till 2:30. So we see there Travis Smith, who's our K-12 industry lead. He will actually bring your staff or your leadership team together and will start to help you and guide you to build your vision and to ask those questions. You know, what do we need to do? What are we doing well? What do we need to change? And things that you didn't even think about. And it's built on what's called the Microsoft Education Transformation Framework, which is a highly researched, highly evidence-backed framework that we introduce your school to. So that's the first component. The second component is what I call the E-Learning Leaders Institute, and that is a 2-day course. So instead of a choice of the 2 days, you actually need to come to both those days. The overview there is we want to upskill educators in your school. So this is for those sort of middle leaders, right? To support teachers and deliver professional development. And participants are going to work on a project. We'll talk about that in a minute as well. I think this is where the rubber hits the road. You know, that other one is vision and making sure that the leaders understand where we're going, but this is where the people really start to do. So this is going to be your e-learning leaders, digital leaders, curriculum leaders, and maybe some aspirational classroom teachers as well. So that'll be on the 3rd of March and the 17th of March, 9 a.m. till 3 p.m. Now, what the E-Learning Leaders Institute looks like. Here's the goals. We want to expose you to Microsoft technologies and resources that support student-centered learning. We want you to experience hands-on activities and participate in conversations around the tools. You will learn to apply the Microsoft resources and staff development programs that exist. You'll be able to apply those to your own professional development, okay, that you're running in the school. You'll explore what's called the ADCAR change management model, that is how to lead a school through change management and its application to your school context. We'll be connecting learning to the VIC curriculum. You will commence building a strategy and plan to move your colleagues through the crawl, walk, run framework and then execute that back at school. So all this, you know, will become clear as you do the course, but that's the project. So you actually do go away and implement what you had learned in the 2 days back at your school. And then you also become certified as a Microsoft Innovative Educator trainer. So what does the project look like? Well, I'm not going to break down to everything that you're going to do, but the idea is that you will take what you learn from these 2 days. You will go back to school, and with the support of the principals and leadership in your school, because they've been to the Vision Day, you will start to build something back in your school. Now, it doesn't have to be big. I don't want you to look at this and go, oh, this is all a lot of work. It could be something very, very small that you're just doing as a pilot project, and that's fine. And so after you've done that, and you'll do that as a group as well, you create a group presentation showing what you've done. And again, it can be quite simple. And then you'll upload that into the team, and then you'll also read other people's presentations and comment on them. So I need to stress, and I didn't when I talked before, both these workshops is you are sending teams of people. So the leadership team comes along, and then your professional development team will come along, and then you guys as the professional development team will create this project. Okay, I hope that doesn't sound too much, because I want to make it clear it's not huge. It's as big as you want it to be. It's a hurdle task. You know you don't pass or fail. It's just a matter of getting it done. The next one is the Inclusive Classroom Day. So again, this is where your learning support staff come along, right? So it may not be everybody, but it'll be a good chunk of them. So learning support leaders and teachers, teachers' aides. If you've got support professionals that visit your school, like speech pathologists and OTs, they are welcome to come along as well. But obviously we don't force them to come along. But it's learning how Microsoft technologies can support students with learning and physical needs. So in other words, looking at the technology that you already have access to that you're probably not aware of, hopefully you are, but probably not, and we help you to switch that on for those kids at schools that need a little bit more help. Now that is a one-day session. There's 3 options there, the 9th, the 11th and the 15th. Again, we want you to come along as a group, rather than, you know, spread yourself over the 3 days, because we like you to reflect and work together. So what does that look like? There will be a basic introduction to Microsoft 365, because oftentimes it's just our experience, sorry to stereotype, but oftentimes there's some, often people in that part of the school aren't necessarily great with technology. So there's a basic introduction to M365. Then we look at Universal Design for Learning as a framework. Look that up. It's not, let's jump in pages there. That's a framework that's not created by Microsoft, but it's one that we use, right? And then we look at reading support, writing support, math support, and speaking and listening. It's a very full day, but it's also our most popular day of the workshops, because teachers come out with something really, really powerful that they can use back in the school. The next thing is the Microsoft 365 for IT Pros Day. It's only a 2.5 hours. It's to explore how to best support schools and manage and deploy Microsoft technology on school devices. We ask you to send your IT director or IT manager, or if you've got IT services staff, as many as you can send, or as many as you have. If you have a third party that supports your school, they are welcome to come as well. So for example, if you've got a contract with an IT specialist, they are welcome to come along and be a part of it. Now, 2 days there, if your school is in the DET central tenant, that is, you use the education.vic.gov tenant, it's on the 16th of March, 10 to 12. But if you've got your own tenant, your school uses your own tenant, 11:30 till 2 the same day. So you go to 2 different sessions, because there's 2 different levels that need to be addressed there. So again, come along, be a part of that. So what we want for the IT guys is we want them to understand and enable the desired end state. There's nothing, and I say guys as a gender inclusive term, there's nothing worse than teachers getting excited, going back to the school, the IT person doesn't get it, won't switch things on, etc. So we know that we need to convince IT folks of what's important and why it's important. They'll also learn about Teams. They'll learn about the Edge browser and why that's important. Looking at accessibility, the Microsoft 365 apps, OneDrive, SharePoint, etc. Basically, what we do there is we share with them the why behind everything that we're getting everybody else excited about in the other sessions. So when they come back, they know what's going on. But they are welcome to attend any of the other sessions as well, especially the Leadership Vision one. The last thing that we have, and this is optional, so every one of those other workshops you must send a contingent from your school, but this one is optional. But actually for a lot of schools this may in fact be the most important one. So this is Discover Microsoft 365 for newbies. right? So if your school is brand new, or if you've got a section of your staff that don't know much about Office 365, you're welcome to send them along to this, all right? So 2 options there, 23rd or 25th of February, and that's a whole day workshop. But again, that is optional. So where does this all take you? Well, the whole idea of the project is that people are building something worthwhile and building something meaningful in their school and getting the experience of delivering professional development. But also what we do is we have what's called a Showcase School program, and the School Transformation program is a stepping stone to that. Now, I want to make it clear, you can do the STP and that's the end of it. That's fine. But if you want to continue on your relationship with Microsoft, then you can join the Showcase Schools program. And there's a lot more expected from you. So what I'm about to show you is not expectations for the STP, it's expectations for the Showcase School program. So you make a commitment to transform, again, a culture of learning and growth, and so you bring a number of educators into the educator community. It's about having a dominant Microsoft platform in your school and all this kind of thing as well. Now, I will share these slides with Lauren, who will make sure that they go out to you so you'll have all this information. Okay, so remember that criteria there is for the Showcase School, not for the STP. All right, so what do we expect from you to be a part of the STP? Well, we expect you to commit to all the first 4 workshops. So you must send leaders to the Vision Day, you must send trainers and PD people to the e-learning leaders days, you must send people to the inclusive classroom, and you must send your IT staff. All right. Then those that are part of the e-learning leaders institute must participate in the project. But other than that, that's all that we really expect from you. Okay. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to throw open for questions, and I'm going to see if anybody has anything that they want to ask, and we'll see how that plays out. Feel free to come off mute if you've got any questions, guys. Or not. Any concerns? Is there anything about it? Because I'd hate you to go away thinking, oh, that's not for us, and that was sort of a misunderstanding. Is there anything that anyone wants to bring up? Okay, well, I'm hoping that I've wowed you.
Troy, we've just got a question in the chat.
Mm-hmm.
Do you want me to read it out to you?
Yes, please. I'm not monitoring. I'll turn it on though.
Sure. So this is from Pedro. As a school, we have significantly increased our use of 365 and Teams. So how well does this fit in with us?
Yeah, Pedro, that's, you know, I don't know your school very well, but I would probably imagine that there's still a lot of room to grow. But I'm happy if you want to reach out to me. We could have a chat about where your school's at and whether the school is above the program. But really, we had, in our last one, we had schools that have been with Microsoft 365 for, literal years, nearly a decade kind of thing, and they were still getting a lot out of it. What it really means is sending the right people to the programs. For example, you yourself may be right across our stuff, but what we usually find is that's only a very small percentage of the school. So it's about sending the right people to the right sessions, even though they may be below or above different people in your school. I hope that makes sense. Okay, well, let me say one more thing. I told you I wasn't a salesman, but I'm going to put my sales hat on and say to you, this is a wonderful program. We have had very few schools that have been in any way disappointed. Most schools come out of the program thrilled with what they've done, especially in the lead up to COVID. The schools that have been through the program were just right there ready to go with things like Teams. Without sounding like I'm fear-mongering, we've just seen what's happened with South Australia with the close down of schools, etc. Definitely, in terms of prepping you for that, or the potential of that is key, but it's much more than that as well, right? Some of the tools and some of the ways that Microsoft has really grown in the education space, it's going to be of real value to you.
Thanks, Troy. I'm not sure if you've got another slide on this, but just to share with everyone how to express their interest in joining the programme.
I don't have a slide for that.
That's okay, I have the link ready.
Excellent. Please, if you could throw that in the chat, that would be really, really good. Yeah, I had everything else. How's that?
So to join the School Transformation Programme for 2021, we've got an expression of interest form. It's a Microsoft form, and I don't have a fancy shortcut link, Troy. So apologies for that. But all we need to do is have someone from the school complete the form. Once we get that commitment form, we will then send an email to the principal confirming that they're happy for your school to be on board. And then after that, we'll start to send out invites to the for the events to whoever needs to come along to those different sessions.
Yeah, and if you're watching the recording of this, I'll make sure that that link is actually in the notes under the YouTube clip as well.
Thanks, Troy.
Okay.